As all of you all know, we support the evaluation, the process evaluation side for the KPC Collaborative. And of course, this includes, along with WSU, the workstation, and then the community checkbox. So today, unless you guys have questions, I won't review the community, the workstation, except for one item, and I'll go ahead. I'll probably start off with that. And I think I heard someone come on. Hey, Margaret, I see your name now. Okay. So we'll just go ahead, and as far as I know, we are moving ahead with our partners for Wichita and Prairie Band.
I sent a text and I'm sending an email, and I'll just keep trying to get them going, and hopefully they'll join.
Okay, no worries. Chad did, well, and not to say, I don't want this to be an encouragement not to attend, but when you have times where you just can't attend, we do record for people to view later. So where we will start this morning, we have a whole entire agenda, and I've done the welcome. I think Priya is going to be online, and she'll be helping me along with Decca to watch the chat and answer any questions. And if you guys would not let me in without providing the link to the survey, that will be great. And I guess I need to click record because that's what we're doing.
It says the session is recorded.
I'm sorry?
It says that the session is being recorded.
Yes, I just pressed the recording button. So we're going to review the CCB. We'll review monthly reports. We'll discuss graphs and the sense-making schedule that you guys have coming up. I know that's different. The technical and the technical assistance form. So about 5 or 6 things that we'll go through. And then, of course, and then any questions that you have, anything that I didn't list that you guys want to raise a question about, we're certainly open to that as well. So while we're in the workstation, one of the first things I want to bring to your remembrance or just remind everybody is to use the technical assistance form. There are 6 of you, and 1 each of Priya and I. And just like all of you guys, you have lots of things going on. The email, it doesn't get you the best opportunity for a quick response. If I'm out of the office or Priya's out of the office and we're not able to continue to monitor our email, then your question is just sitting there. When you place your question in the technical assistance form, DECA, Greenbush, WSU, and other staff here from KU are able to address it, know that it's there. So I really encourage everyone, and if you guys from the contractors would just remind people to please use the technical assistance form. It will get you the best possible customer service that we have. So that I wanted to be sure and just remind everybody about that. It's also, it becomes a great frequently asked questions place. So if you're asking a question, we can go back and kind of view it. Other people can see the response that might have the same questions. So that's the technical assistance form, and you can see it from your link, from your KPCCI Collaboratory link, and then just go down and select the KPC Grantee Technical Assistance form. Any questions about that? Okay. So today is going to be one great big review of the CCB form. We haven't had an opportunity to train with you all since I really think it was the end of last year. I'm almost certain it was the end of last year was the last time we had a community checkbox training for implementation grantees. Those of you who are newer, the cohort 1, we may have been in there a couple of times at the beginning of the year with you. But since the last time we talked about the community checkbox as a group, we've made a few changes, which you have probably seen. But I want to make sure that not only have you seen them, but that you are able to respond to them the way we're expecting a response. So what we're going to do is look at the community checkbox, of course, and I'm going to open the form. And let's see here. So we're just going to go through each one. I know you guys already know this, but just based on some of the things that we've seen as far as responses are related, I think it's important that we just go through and remind you guys. And also some of you have had changes in your community mobilizers and staff. So one of the first things I want to point out is your name. Most of you have done really great at this. Your name is it is the name of the person who is providing the documentation, and it's not two names. So even if you did an activity partnering with somebody in your organization, you would just type in, the only person's name who goes there is the person who is entering the documentation. Even if you're documenting about something that someone else did, the name that goes there is the person who's entering the documentation. One of the other questions I wanted to point out is when you get to which KPCCI project does this activity support or relate? Of course, when you select the drop-down, you have several options. And the one that you guys would select is implementation grant, because you guys are all implementation grantees. However, you might be working on, you might be supporting your community using other funding. And so if you are, whether it's the DFC or the CAR grant, and there may be some other grant that you're using to support your community efforts, we would encourage you to use the community checkbox so that you can tell your whole story. It also provides you an opportunity to collect data through the checkbox, and we will, if you request it from Pri or I, we will build graphs for you to help you to report out along with your KPCCI or your KPC funding. So what happens is when you would select not applicable, and when you select that, you get another drop down. So if NA, please select one of the following. And we only have DCF or CARA, but there's the other opportunity for you to select other in case there is another grant that you're working on that we don't have the information about. So we encourage you to use that. You would answer the rest of the questions, in the CCB. I know that most of them are, well, really all of them are required. So, but there's always that not applicable response. So any questions about that as you're moving forward? If you have some back entries that you want to put in, please feel free to do that as well. Okay. Our next question we want to bring attention to is And I think for the most part, this group has been doing well on answering which counties were involved in this activity. And so just the clarity of this is which counties were involved. So if you were working with counties other than your own, you would select your county and the other county that was involved in the activity. And the difference in the next question is the zip code tells us where the activity occurred. So if you were in Reno County and you were working with another county, it would be Reno and the other county. But here we get to zero in a little bit more on where the activity occurred. So, and any questions you have as we're moving through, please feel free to ask. And then this, the description seems to be a challenge across because we do a lot of great things. We share a lot of great information during our meetings with people, whether it's our coalition meeting or when we're meeting one-on-one with others in the community. But what we do want to really encourage you to do is to just respond to who did what, with whom, for what was the result or the purpose. And while we are very interested in what it is you are doing and talking about, if you find that you are adding opinions that were shared, other thought processes that you went through, you always just want to kind of ask yourself, does that fall into one of those categories? So I don't want to say, if you're getting 10 sentences, you kind of want to look at what it is that you're entering. I don't want to say, oh, you're just going to have four sentences. You're just going to have 5 sentences. Everything that you answer in this should be around the protocol. And you're going to use that protocol regardless to what the activity is. So if you posted a banner in your community, we want to know what's the result, what's your purpose, because you wouldn't necessarily have a result at that point. But what was your purpose for posting that banner in your community? Who did you do it with and why? So regardless to how small in nature the accomplishment is, we still need that full response in the description. Any questions about that? Okay. So before I move on, I do have a question for you all. What has been one of your most challenging questions to respond to in the community checkbox? You can type it in the chat, or you can just speak. Hi, Peyton. So the question I'm asking is, what has been one of your most challenging questions to answer in the community checkbox?
Hey, Dola, are you talking about like question in terms of like what our community is doing and like we're trying to answer like what we're doing, or are you saying question as in like what questions do we have about the CCB?
So I think it's an and. So if you're doing something out in your community and you're trying to record whatever that activity is in the checkbox, what has been one of your most challenging questions to answer as it relates to what to the accomplishment you're trying to enter? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I need to think about that a little more because I don't have a specific answer.
That's fine. You just got on. I'll give you a little grace on that. And then everybody else, if you would just really think about that and think about the questions in this time that we're spending together. And we're trying something new. I would like for it to be interactive. I would like not just to talk at you, but that's the way we learn. Is when you're sharing your concerns with us as well. And I see a response. When I first got started, it was determined if it was sustainability or capacity or what we were working on, but it seems easier now that I have a better understanding. And that's from Celine. Great. And then what this also does is give me and Priya an opportunity to figure out what kind of things we need to pull out when we're training. Sustainability and capacity. Thank you, Celine. And anybody else, as we're moving along, if something comes to you, just please type it in the chat for us. Let's see. Okay, so that was a great response, Celine, because that takes me to the next thing we want to point out to you guys is when you're answering what SPIF phase does this activity primarily contribute to or support, we want you to keep in mind what your action plans are saying. You know, what have you identified in your logic model that you're going to be addressing? And then because of what you identified, what action steps did you say you were going to be taking? And so we really want to see if you said you were going to meet with the principal to engage him or the district in the KCTC, and you were going to do it by October 30th, then somewhere in your accomplishments should be that particular action step. We know that things change, so I'm not saying if you said on your action step, you know, it has to be in there by the 30th, but I am saying, well, let's say you don't get it done until November 15th, but we should be able to at some point look at your action steps, your strategy action steps, your action planning guides, all of those documents that are required. We should be able to look at those and then look at your community checkbox entries and find some relational things occurring based on what it is that you said you were going to do in your community. And so what we've done to kind of help that, we've only done it in one place right now, but you'll see a change in the checkbox later on next week. So these are the SPIF phases. You have your assessment, capacity planning, implementation, evaluation, sustainability, and cultural competence. And the new question that you will see, and right now it's only under implementation, but as I stated later on next week, you'll see it throughout the SPIF phases, is when you select implementation for now, it says, is this accomplishment related to an action plan objective? So we're just using this to jog your memory. Hey, is this something that you said you would do in your action plan? And if it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't go there. But definitely, you know, if it's not, then, you know, we're helping you to go back to your action plan. Keep that before you so that you can stay on the path that you strategically laid out in order to address the issues in your community. So this can be graphed, and this is an aside for the DECA representatives that are on the line. When we're looking at fidelity, when we're looking to see, to measure what the communities are doing, this is something that we can graph. So it'll probably say, is this accomplishment related to an implementation action plan, but we'll fix it. So any questions about that? Any concerns about that? This is a way to help all of us stay on track. It's a way to help you stay in tune with what it is your action plans are doing, helps you understand if you're getting off track, if you need to go back to your DECA specialist and say, hey, we see that we're doing a lot of other activities. What guidance do we need? Maybe you don't need any. Maybe things changed a little bit, but it gives you the opportunity to continuously evaluate the accomplishments that you are implementing in your community.
Hey, Dola, Margaret has a question about the SPIF phase.
Okay.
So she says, is there a possibility to allow us to select 2 or more to this question? Example, if we are working on capacity as well as competence, as well as cultural competence.
So what that usually means, and that's a great question, because I should have mentioned that when I was talking about the description. Usually that means you should have 2, even though it may have happened within the same accomplishment. It probably means you need 2 different entries. So if you're accomplishing something under implementation and you're also accomplishing something under sustainability, then, or just to your example as well, Margaret, 2 different accomplishments. And anytime you run into a question like that and you're not sure, place it in that technical assistance form, and just just ask the question. Joy also had a question. I think the demographics is a challenge. Okay, and we're going to get to that. Thanks, Joy. So I guess in short, Margaret, we would prefer that, and you're not able to answer to select 2. We actually need 2 different entries. Great question, thank you. Any other questions? Am I missing anything? Okay. You guys are really doing good answering frequency. I know that was an issue we've had along the way. So you're doing a really good job with that. The length of the activity. We're going to talk about media, but not necessarily in this training. You're going to be receiving some feedback about media, but our next time together is when we're going to discuss media, because some of you guys are really doing great work. You're hosting or posting your It Matters information in movie theaters. You're doing multiple evidence-based strategies in schools, and so that question has brought us a wonderful challenge. We're going to do that one along. So to Joy's response, is related to, let me read it again and make sure I answer this correctly. Demographics. And where I'm going to start before I go to participant description is the question, number of individuals served or reported. So one of the things that I've seen across the responses in the CCB is that you guys are including yourself. Pardon me, I'm sorry. You guys are including yourself. So if you are meeting with an individual in the community and you are sharing, you're providing information, the only person that was served is the person that you were meeting with. So you would not include yourself here. And then to Joy's point, whatever number you enter here is also going to be the number that you're going to enter into the participant description tab. And I'm going to pull up a form that's already been completed so I can show you the participant description tab. Just 1 second here. And I just picked the first one, so I'm not picking on anyone. This happens to be Safe Streets. So it said 29 individuals. SAMHSA sponsored. Okay. So I'm sorry, Safe Patient, I'm not picking on you. So this is an example where participant description would not be counted. And it's not counted because it's not an activity that your particular, Safe Streets staff and coalition members formed a planning meeting for this event. Haha, I'm wrong. SAMHSA sponsored a community's talk, underage drinking town hall event. Safe Streets staff and coalition members formed a planning committee for this event, which met regularly. The agenda for the day of the event included. Okay, and an extensive amount of information. So let me roll back on what I was saying. This is a great entry, and because they hosted the event, it is absolutely appropriate that there are 29 is posted here. What I was going to say, if it's an event that your community did not, or that your coalition did not support, so for example, this meeting right here, this is not a meeting where you would enter that you attended, but you are not required to respond to participant description. It's a required response, so you would just enter 0. But you don't have to count the number of people that attended because your coalition did not create this event. That was the point I was going to make. And so for page 10, awesome. So her total number served was 29. She had new participants of 9. That's great. And the only thing that I'm going to encourage here is that because it is an event that you guys hosted, I'm going to show you the documentation efforts that you need in order to complete this event, in order to complete this tab. And it's a small enough number, and it's also your event. So you were probably in the best position to be able to answer these questions. So we're going to move from the checkbox, and okay. So if you go to KPCCI resource documents and use the KPC participant demographic roster, I'm going to show you what the roster looks like. Let's see. Tried to download it before. In just 1 second. Sorry. I'll just do it again. Okay. So you would use this roster, and you would use this roster along with your sign-in, because I would imagine that you had a sign-in sheet, and then this is self-reporting. So just like you do when you come to our meetings, when the KPC has training meetings, we have you sign in, and then we have you self-report on your demographics. So what Joy is responding to, when there is a channel in the coalition has an event other than a meeting. So it comes to size. That was a small enough number of people, and it was your event. You could do that. When So let's say Safe Streets partnered with another county and the other county was the organizing county. I would think that because you have a relationship with that county that you would be able to do the same thing. Maybe you're doing something and it's a broad number of vendors or a broad number of partners and your relationship isn't as close in the organizing. You could ask. I mean, the only thing people can say is no, but you could at least put forth the effort to always collect this information. Okay. I'm going to share with you another guide here for participant description. So under KPCCI grantee tips and tools, you have to go back. This was posted in 2016, but guides on when to complete the participant description tab. So you're going to complete it when you're interacting with other community members. We talked about that a little bit, and not including yourself. You're going to complete the tab when you're delivering a service in the community. So you guys do that well when you're implementing evidence-based strategies into schools. And then don't complete the tab just like today's meeting. If you're a community member and you attend a meeting that is not led by your organization or coalition, or when you have a staff meeting. When the event is a large event, let's say your community has a trunk or treat and the whole community is there. The best way for you to collect data, and it's going to be based on who you serve. So let's say you have a table, and at your table, you are going to have, it's trunk or treat, so I imagine you're going to have candy. At this point, it's not about how many pieces of candy you pass out, but if you have flyers there that's informing people about the risk factors that you're addressing in your community, and you take 50 flyers to that big community event and you pass them all out, then you know you serve 50 people. And at that point, you also are not going to be able to, like this roster that I shared earlier, you're not going to use the roster at that type of an event. But that is where it would be more acceptable to have the scenario where, you know, you serve 50, but you don't have this information because of the type of an event it was. Does that make sense, Joy?
Yes, I just knew that I had lots of questions asked me, you know, lots of
Right.
coalitions asked me about that. Another thing they asked though, Dola, you know, if you want to, can you go up a little bit where you're the total number of people and then the new people? A lot of times, so a lot of times they would put like total number served would be 20, and then they would put 9 for the new participants, because if they looked at it, sometimes they thought that meant that there were 38 people there.
No, so
that's just a question I wanted clarified for them too.
Sure. So I'm assuming for this one that patient knows that the total number of people that came to the event were 29. And of those 29 people, she knows that 9 of them were new participants. And that's how that question is answered. Does that make it clear, Joy?
Yes,
and I'm saying Joy, but the question is to anybody. So the way you answer that question is if you know if you're in a school setting, you know you normally have 10 students, but today there are 12. So the total number served is going to be 12, and your new participants is going to be 2, because you normally have 10 students.
Dola, Margaret has a question about participant description. She asks if you can add military section to the demographic roster.
Oh, let's see. I can. This is actually a Greenbush form. Sure, we'll make a note to do that. Great observation. Thank you, Margaret. Okay. Awesome. So I showed you where the roster is found and other information that you can use to answer your questions regarding participant description. Okay. Awesome. So the next thing I'd like to bring to your attention, let me go out of this one. So this last question for you to respond to when you're entering in the community checkbox is, please check yes if you have revised this entry based on KU feedback. I'm going to show you when to say yes, and you'll have lots of opportunities going forward to say yes to this. So we want to make sure that when you respond, what I'm referring to is the monthly report. You should get those. Everybody should have them no later than Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And we're trying to get on a schedule, but right now it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. I'm going to show you what those will look like and when it gives you the opportunity to respond to this question. And this is an example. We tried to make them a little more user-friendly. For those of you who have been around for a while, you used to get this wonderful Excel sheet, just beautiful, with all your entries in them, and we would highlight them yellow and, you know, expect you to be as excited about data as we are and look at that sheet and answer those questions. So we have tried to make it as user-friendly as we can for you, and then we hope that this also gives you ideas about when you're requesting, when you have the opportunity to report out to your communities or to other entities, that this will give you an idea of how your data can be presented. It's pretty limited, but well, this particular report is pretty limited. But so just to know that you can add to it and do whatever it is that you need to do to report out, and that Priya or I would be very happy to create that data for you. And then I'm also going to show you that some of that data or those graphs are already there. So first, as it relates to the question, are you responding to, have you changed anything in the community checkbox form? So this is the report. This is what the top page will look like. You'll get a message from us, and we're just sharing with you what's going to be included in your report. So the first document, oh, I meant to take that off, sorry. But the first graph will be an accomplishment graph based on the SPIF phase. So anything that you've done related to your SPIF phase will be there. And these numbers, and I'm sorry, Feeney County, I didn't take your name off of this, but they actually just started over with a new group. So this could be very appropriate. But if you look at this, this is for 1 month. Based on where you are, implementation will probably be really high because you guys are really, that's what you're doing, you're implementation grantees. If you know that you're focusing on cultural competence and you see 1 there and you know you've done some other work, it just kind of gives you a a good eye on what it is you're doing. You're probably doing lots of work, but maybe you're not getting it into the community checkbox. And that's going to be true for every graph that we show you. For you, it's going to be a check and balance. Hey, I know we're doing much more in that area, but it's not being reflected in our graphs. And then if you're looking at your action steps and it's not being reflected there, it's a great check and balance for us. It moves us to be able to report back to KDADS how we're addressing these areas across the state and, well, in your county and across the state. And then it also helps us to provide feedback to federal reporting as well. So you'll get the SPIF phase graph. You'll also get, this list was so large it went to another page, but you'll get key accomplishments. And those key accomplishments are accomplishments that as we have looked over your entries, we've noted accomplishments that need some conversation. And we'll place those in, the feedback will be in red. So you'll scroll down.
Hold on.
Does anybody have a question? Okay, so we'll list those accomplishments, and as you can see, Priya or I have entered some information there. So we're asking you to, in this one, complete the participant description section. So when you do that on this, you have the date of the activity, the name of the person who entered it. You have enough information to go back to the accomplishments and find this entry and just respond accordingly. If we're asking you to reformat it, and if we're asking you to reformat it, or if we're just nudging you, when you enter this again, please use the accomplishment protocol. So when you make this change, so we've read this, or you've read this as a community, and you go back and you make this change, that's when you're going to select yes to this question. You're going to say, please check yes, and because you made that change based on our feedback, then you're just going to change this to yes. Okay. So that's what's going to happen when you receive your feedback. We have this is a great example of the accomplishment template. So we're just not using the ruler and smacking your hand, so to speak. We're also providing encouragement. So these particular entries look like program, policy, and practice changes. You'll also note in some of your entries, we talk about, we don't really call them development activities when we're talking to you guys, but things that you might say, today I called the principal at Washington High School to talk to him about the KCTC information. And you made the entry, but you actually didn't, like, it didn't happen, is what I'm saying. And so in this column, we might say something like, hey, don't forget to post your entry about what the outcome was for this. So we hope that this is an opportunity to help you really shape your data, and you can really see the program, policy, and practice changes that's happening from month to month. Then after you review your accomplishments, then we'll also have an implementation-based strategies graph. So all of the places that you're providing information in your community in those areas will be shown in that particular graph. And then down here, these are just some examples. So you have feedback and questions. We just want to remind you to please use the accomplishment protocol. We talked about that at the beginning of our time together. We're really interested in everything that happened, but if you would just stick to answering the accomplishment protocol, that would help us as well as you when we're ready to provide your feedback to you. Don't add yourself in the participant description tab. And media, as I stated earlier, you'll be getting some individual questions asked of you as it relates to media, and probably our next training will focus on media. So that's what your report will look like. Everything in red, we're asking that you please respond to. You can respond. Where you will find your report is going to be in the community, in the workstation. So in the workstation, you will go to your document link, your Grant County, whatever your county is. That's the only link you'll see, of course, but you'll open it up. And let me do one that I know is there. Let me show you what it'll look like. So underneath your county, you'll be able to find a folder. It'll have CCB Monthly Report, and you can download it. It's a PDF. You can download the report, and then just, I just realized it is a PDF. I don't think you can respond back to a PDF. So we will provide information to you, direction to you on how to respond back. And that you don't have to do in a technical assistance form, because you might not want to share that much information with everybody. So you can use email to respond back to us. And in fact, that's how we'll be reaching out to you as well. Okay. So what do I have next? Any questions on the monthly reports? Okay, so I briefly mentioned graphs. You guys all know where the graphs are. I used Feeney County as an example because I think I built more graphs for different purposes for Feeney County. So just about every question you're answering in the community checkbox can be graphed in some type of way. And so I would encourage you to take a look at the graph, see what's there. If you have questions about specific items and you don't see a graph in under your county name, they're posted. I think all of you guys know that each county should have a folder, and behind that folder are your graphs. We're not able to audience the graph so that you can't see what's behind someone else's graph, and I think that's the way you learn. Just what we ask is that, you know, if it's graphs that specifically say our folders, you know, KU or KDADS, and we're building reports, that you not change those. The information is, you know, public information, so you're welcome to go in, take a look at them, ask questions about them. We just ask that you not make any changes to anyone else's graphs. And I respect that as well for you all. If I am in your county folder and I see that you've attempted to create a graph that's not quite correct, I'll create another one beside it, just so that you know I'm respecting that about you all as well. So that's the graphs. Any questions about the graphs or how they relate to reporting, action plans, forms, anything?
Joy says she thinks it's for the past month. I think she's asking about the monthly report.
Yeah, is it just for the past month, or is it the past quarter?
So it's for the past month, but
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one that you're going to get next week is for the past month. But we can provide reports for any time frame previously. You guys haven't received a report, so if you would like to receive a report, you absolutely can. It's a matter of a request.
Thanks for clarification.
Sure, no problem. Okay. We talked about the TA form. What's going to be different about this type of gathering than sense making? Sense making, you guys won't be on all together. You'll be on individually, and we'll just individually walk through your data. So if you, yes, we will be going through your data one-on-one. And what that will do, it'll help ensure that you're telling your full story. It'll help ensure that that you are in alignment with your action plans. It'll help ensure that if you have a lot of entries, what we call development activities, we can make sure that you're moving that information along. So if you have a lot of activities, or I'm sorry, if you have a lot of accomplishments that say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're planning to do, this is what we want to do, this is what we talked about, that we're able to look at those data and say, well, okay, so did that happen? And 9 times out of 10, it happened. Chad and I were talking this morning, and you know, time is our best friend. It just keeps going along with us no matter what. And sometimes we just get behind. And because we get behind, and because we already typed it in, we think we've already done it, and we haven't. We just, you know, entered what our desire is. So we want to help you move those entries to the next level, and that helps us at the county, you know, at your level, and at the county and state and federal levels as well. So that's going to be the difference between these type gatherings and sense making. And I have completed, you should see my office. So I have a wall in front of me that I can write on. I have big notes in pink, red, and orange up there. I've completed all of those. And then I have a board to my left that has the agenda. I've completed all of those. I have nowhere else to look. I've completed everything. So what about you guys? Have I answered all of your questions? I am going to show you one more document that you have seen before, but I think it will help. It won't hurt for you to see it again. I know that most of you have been doing this for a couple of years, you know, maybe some of you more than a couple of years, but if you ever have a question on what to document, this slide here is your best friend. It just takes you through a couple of thought processes of things that you're doing in different phases, in different parts of the SPIT phase, about what to document. Another great place to determine, is this something I should document, is you go back to your RFA and look at those requirements. What are the goals that were set? So there's 3. There's this document, there's your RFA, and then I've talked extensively about the action plans. Your strategic planning there. Those are definitely 3 places that you can determine what needs to be documented in the community checkbox. So with that, if there are no other questions, I'm going to post the link in your chat for the survey. Let's see here. Just one moment. I had a lot of screens open. So yes, here we go. And if you would please complete the survey. I didn't mean to open it. Let me place it in your chat here. Let's see, did I post it or did I hit it too fast? I'm sorry. Oh, it doesn't want to paste. Just 1 second. Control copy. There it goes. So that is the link. Oh, I posted it 3 times. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I posted it lots of times. So the link that says HTTPS Survey Monkey, please use that link. I don't want to do it again. I didn't see it was posting. So if anybody has any problems getting the survey, please let me know. But please do complete the survey. It'll help us prepare for the next time. It'll help us to understand that we're sharing information that's beneficial to you. And that is all I have for today. I appreciate your time. Got out, I think we got out a little early, not a little early. It's like you have the gift of an hour.
Thanks, Dola.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon. Stay warm.
Have a good weekend. Thanks,
Thank
Dola.
you too. Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, all. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. You're good.